Welcome back to Canadian Justice. We're here with the Canadian Constitution Foundation's newest lawyer, Josh Dehaas, talking about the ongoing cases at the CCF. Now, Josh, I mentioned in the introduction one of the cases that we are now working on that hasn't been announced yet. It's a case called Attorney General and Power. What can you tell me about this case?
So Power is a man in New Brunswick, and he committed some crimes back in the 90s. He went on to get a job in a hospital, and many, many years later, someone told his boss that he had this criminal conviction in his past, and he lost his job. And then he found out that he could have received a pardon if it was not for this new law that had been passed that retroactively took away his ability to get a pardon. Now, the problem with that is Section 11 of the Charter makes very clear that you can't give someone a worse punishment than what they got at their actual conviction. And so this was a clearly wrong law. It was obviously unconstitutional. The government admitted that. The courts uh, said that.
It
But
was
that
struck down.
it was struck down. But that's not much good to Power, right? So Power wanted damages. He wanted money, just not only to compensate him for the fact that he's lost his job, but also to stop the government, deter them from doing this type of thing where they pass a law they know is unconstitutional again. And so the crazy thing here is the government has made an argument, despite decades of law to the contrary, saying that they can never be forced to pay money damages for the breach of a charter right where they've enacted a law that's unconstitutional. So, for example, they say, well, if a police officer does an illegal search, yeah, okay, maybe we can pay charter damages for that. But if we go and pass a law that empowers police to do an illegal search, somehow that's they're absolutely immune from that. So we're challenging this law. We think that there's already a pretty high standard for making the government pay, and that the law as it stands right now is correct.
Yeah, so there already is a requirement that the government pay damages for an unconstitutional law, but only in very specific circumstances. And I think the threshold does have to be high. It's a difficult thing to prove, but what is that threshold? What are the circumstances? And right now, what the government is arguing is they're trying to change the law. They're trying to say no one can ever sue us for an unconstitutional law, even in these most extreme cases that the law currently permits. So, what are those extreme cases where someone could currently sue for money damages for an unconstitutional law?
Right. So the case law, it's a case called Mackin, and it says that we're not going to make the government pay in most cases, but where they've done something clearly wrong, that's an abuse of power, or that's done in bad faith, we're going to potentially make them pay damages. And just to give an example of the types of things from Canadian history that might count as abuses of power, where they would now have to pay, are things like Japanese internment. So during the Second World War, there was a lot of concern that Japanese Canadians were somehow disloyal. The RCMP didn't think this. The Justice Department didn't actually think this, but a lot of people were saying we need to round up these Japanese, and the government did. They ordered Japanese men to go work in internment camps and build roads in the interior of BC. They sold their boats, they sold their homes, and when the war was over, a lot of them were sent to Japan, a country that many of them had never been to because they were born in Canada. So there are lots of examples throughout Canadian history where the government does something that everyone knows is unconstitutional, and those are the cases where we think that they should still have to pay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a famous example from English history of this concept of a bill of attainder, where the legislature passes a law that says Josh is going to be executed, or Josh can never have a job, or Josh needs to have his bank account frozen and all the assets taken out of it. And even just passing a bill of attainder like that can cause damage to you, even if there's never any executive action taken as a result of the legislation. Even if the law is struck down, there still can be damage that you experience as a result of that. And being able to sue for money damages is an important way of getting accountability from the government. In about 30 seconds, what do you want to say about that accountability measure?
Yeah, I just want to say that money talks basically. Like, I worked in journalism, and if you get something like a declaration that your rights were violated, that's one thing. But if someone is someone in the government is forced to pay a big bill, then they're going to think twice about whether they're going to violate your constitutional rights a second time.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got to go to commercial break now, but when we would come back, we're going to continue this conversation with the CCF's newest lawyer, Josh Dehaas, about what exciting new cases he's thinking about at the CCF.